Welcome back to another episode of The Weekly for Monday, March 23rd here in Asia. Still Sunday evening in the West. Markets haven't opened yet. We're going to start things off as we have been doing so far for the last several weeks since the outbreak of conflict, war in the Middle East, with a recap of the situation that we've been monitoring, David. So you wrote a lot about this. You wrote a lot about this in your newsletter. Another great recap. Let's take people through some of the major updates on the war situation for last week before we get into the market impact.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so I opened up my newsletter with this quote from the Speaker of the Islamic Republic of Iran's parliament. This is not the full quote, but I thought it kind of has the biggest impact here. An eye for an eye equation is in effect, and a new level of confrontation has begun. And boy, that is absolutely what has happened and what we are on the cusp of, like further escalation. This was posted by Mohammed Bagar Ghalibarf. Sorry, I'm terrible with this.
Ghalibarf.
Dude, whatever, man. This gentleman posted this on March 19th after the strikes on Iran's South Pars gas field. Iran immediately delivered on this threat, promise, eye for an eye, kind of new way of interpreting the conflict. They had retaliatory strikes on Qatar's Ras Laffan industrial city, which, according to some, produces roughly 20% of global LNG supply. And I believe Qatar Energy and several of the contractors for that complex have said that the damage already done just in that retaliatory strike is going to take 2 to 5 years to repair. So the damage is now in years in terms of the worldwide LNG output. President Trump, immediately after Iran's retaliatory attack, he kind of waded in to try and de-escalate the situation. It was a wild post. He's had some wild ones, but I mean, I feel like they're getting wilder and wilder. He said, kind of publicly admonished Israel, then Iran, and then he said, if Iran does it anymore, we're gonna do kind of scorched earth thing. All right. Following all this stuff, it did really feel like for the first time last week, markets, specifically equity markets, have realized that imminent taco is unlikely. You've seen markets fall through the end of the week. Bob Elliott and others, for example, what's his name? Rory Johnston. They had been surprised equity markets had remained high, and even surprised that they didn't fall more. This is to say, the markets are still not pricing in fully what has already happened. Okay. So I want to quote from the excellent podcast Monetary Matters with Jack Farley. He had Rory Johnston on, and I've been following Rory Johnston since COVID, when there was, I don't know if anyone recalls this, but there was also kind of an energy shock then, right? You saw crude oil go to negative $35 a barrel. I don't know if you remember that. It's pretty interesting. And then in the start of the Russia-Ukraine outbreak, there was a energy shock. I put that in quotation marks because lots of like oil commodity tourists said the sky was falling and all this kind of stuff. But level-headed people like Rory Johnston, they said no, this is BS, and he was right. And he was right for the right reasons. Anyway, I say all that to give this quote from the Monetary Matters podcast with Rory Johnston. And I quote, "It's bigger than asking Rory, how big is the barrel of oil impact on the market in a historical context? Quote, it's bigger than anything in history. Every analyst I speak with, people that I respect, people that are not alarmists, people that make fun of the alarmists, they are all terrified," end quote. Again, This is not to say the sky is falling or the world is ending or anything like that. But in my estimation, the level-headed people who have made oil, and specifically oil, their kind of their career, and have been level-headed in the past 6 years through COVID, through Russia-Ukraine. Now this time they're starting to get worried. So I think that's, to me, a sign of where we are and kind of what's to come. This brings
they're terrified. I think.
Yes.
Not starting to get worried. Terrified.
Yes. So, all right. This brings us to today, or this brings us to the weekend. This past weekend, which is, again, going back to Trump. He released this ultimatum to Iran. Graham, do you want to read this?
If Iran doesn't fully open without threat the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours from this exact point in time, the United States of America will hit and obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest ones first. Thank you for attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump.
Holy
and that was posted
24 hours ago.
About 24 hours ago. So the clock is ticking.
So by this time tomorrow, I mean, it's going to be a very, very, very important event. Now, okay. Trump releases this ultimatum, and the previously mentioned gentleman from the Iranian parliament who said that eye for an eye quote, and then Iran followed through with the retaliatory eye for an eye attack. He replied to Trump's ultimatum. Immediately after the power plants and infrastructure in our country are targeted, the critical infrastructure, energy infrastructure, and oil facilities throughout the region will be considered legitimate targets and will be destroyed in an irreversible manner, and the price of oil will remain high for a long time. And throw down what is your right hand, it will swallow up what they have made. Okay, so there we have it. Then Iran released a list. They released a list of addresses for the facilities that they will target. This apparently has been verified, right? This is not just some like random person's list. So we don't have to go through this whole list, but I mean these are civilian related infrastructure. These are not military targets whatsoever. Right?
Desalination plants.
Yes. Right. Like, so the first one, I'm not going to say it. Desalination plant, largest in the world. Next one, Southern Saudi grid electricity power plant, gone. Qatar grid hit. Another power plant plus water thing. Another desalination plant. Another power plant. Another power plus water plant. Another power plant. Another grid power plant in Jordan. Another power plant. I mean, 12 named facilities, 6 countries, 0 military bases on the list, all civilian infrastructure for power and water. So, I mean, this is now eye for an eye, and just I don't know. So that's where we are today, Graham. On Sunday night Eastern Standard Time, U.S. Here we are in Japan. I'm in Japan. And the Asian markets have opened up. This is going to help us give a preview of what's likely to happen for U.S. equities on market open. And thus far, it's been about a 4% gap down from Friday.
You're talking about equities, Nikkei?
Yes, I'm talking about the Nikkei. The Nikkei gapped down, and it went as low as like 5%, and it's kind of pulled back between 3.5 and 4%. Gap down in the market. That's probably, I think that's a pretty decent estimation of what will happen on U.S. Open. Is like a 4 to 5% gap down.
Yeah, and just looking at the U.S. equities, right? I've got the chart up right now. It's very much looking like a rolling over situation. We're at the that critical 200-day moving average. I think the current price of the current index is up where it was in September, and not looking good, right? There's a significant space, a gap that the markets can trace down to.
Yes, and again, the thing that I'm going to be looking for is okay. So it's about what 10:20 right now, Eastern Standard Time. So I guess the ultimatum, that's when it is around 10 p.m. tomorrow. I mean, that's what I'm going to be glued to, is just what's going to happen at 10 p.m. America time tomorrow, right? Like, it's crazy that so much rides on that, and anyway, that's where we are.